They cut us off on the highway, jump in front of us in line, talk really loudly on their cell phones, right next to us. There's a word for these sorts of people. We just can't say it here. But if the movies are on cable, you hear it all the time.
What an hole, man.
What an asshole!
What an hole!
This is a vulgar word, a coarse word. There's a reason why we made this a coarse word, so that when our neighbor starts his leaf blower at 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning, we have an appropriate means to express the full extent of our indignation. Everything the other side hates.
Jeffrey Nunberg teaches at the University of California, Berkeley, and he wrote Ascent of the A-word. A-word is the term we'll use. How would you define an A-word?
It's somebody who goes around saying, "Do you know who I am?" and invariably doesn't know himself.
Nunberg's students all have their own working definitions.
Someone who is a jerk and isn't afraid to show other people that he is a jerk.
Well, I would have to say anyone who is not me and gets my ire up.
I think I try not to use that word except when I'm driving because, you know, road rage is acceptable.
I went to a concert, pricey ticket. The people in front of me just started talking pretty loudly. And I said, listen, I paid a lot of money for this ticket. And they turned around and they said, we did too, and kept talking.
A-words.
A-words have been around since the dawn of man, says Nunberg.
In one sense, you can think of A-words going back to ancient Greece. Achilles.
Mr. Scrooge, it's Christmas!
Scrooge was an A-word before he saw the light.
Be off with you!
But this is really a new word. It's a word that's formed in the mouths of GIs during World War II as a reproach for officers who were arrogant. And in that sense, the first leader to be described as an A-word by both his men and his superiors was George Patton.
Shut up! Don't admit this yellow bastard.
The word itself may be crude, but it's recently inspired some pretty sophisticated thinking.
The value of a moral action depends on the character of a motivation.
Aaron James is a professor of philosophy at the University of California in Irvine with a new, bluntly titled book. You dedicated this book to your parents.
Yeah, if my parents hadn't done a good job, you know, I might have been the kind of person discussed.
James says that kind of person is multiplying in our society.
I think probably the number is on the rise because of various trends. One is our recent style of greed is good capitalism.
Greed is right. Greed works.
Another is, you know, certain kinds of media, reality, TV.
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
You look at a show like The Apprentice, where somebody who consummately deserves this label, even his political partisans say that Trump deserves this label. He's our A-word, but he's an A-word.
In Hollywood, A-words often make the A-list.
The 10 most fascinating people.
If you look at the lists of most fascinating people that Barbara Walters assembles year after year, anywhere from 4 to 6 of them patently deserve the A-word label. It's a category that we're fascinated with. You see in last year's list, there was Steve Jobs, Trump, the Kardashians, Simon Cowell, and in previous years, Mel Gibson.
Thank you so much!
And then there's Kanye West, who famously interrupted Taylor Swift's acceptance speech at the 2009 MTV Video Music Awards.
Rapper, producer.
Barbara Walters called him fascinating a few years earlier. But Aaron James calls him something else, a delusional A-word.
Although he's a very talented artist, he thinks he's much more significant as an artist, much more talented than he is. He says, my greatest pain in life is that I'll never be able to see myself perform live on stage.
And yet somehow my heart doesn't break for him.
As your heart's not breaking for him.
But before we start pointing fingers, Jeffrey Nunberg says there's a little bit of A-wordishness in all of us. The internet? It's like the promised land for A-words.
Anonymity makes this easier. Time was when you wanted to post anonymous, nasty remarks about people's political or sexual or personal habits. The only place you had was the walls of public bathrooms. Right now, the whole world is a big public laboratory where you can scrawl whatever you want without tipping your hand.
Oh my gosh, that's right. It's the worldwide restroom.
Yeah.
So could it be that we're all A-words?
Some people have it chronically, like consumptives who have a chronic cough. But all of us are liable to get a cough now and again.
You don't seem the least bit like an A-word.
Well, not to you today, but you know, if you'd seen me trying to get over here and get a cab, you would have had a different opinion.
To the person watching at home thinking, gee, I wonder if I'm an, what should he or she ask him or herself?
Whether you would be ashamed of yourself in the thought that you qualify.
If you're fine with the label, you probably are one.
Fine with the label and proud of it, then you probably are one, yeah.
I love it. It's like easier than a home pregnancy test.
Right. You get the results right away.